안녕하세요.
So we've been living in New Zealand for about 6 months now, and we wanted to talk in this video today about some of the strange and interesting things we found about living here. So the first thing is, nobody talks about COVID-19. It's so nice to be living in a country where it feels like normal and COVID isn't really something that people care about. I got so sick and tired of always hearing about COVID-19 and having to wear a mask and lockdowns and all that. And so being back in New Zealand, which is basically COVID-free, you kind of forget about it. You forget that there's a global pandemic going on.
맞아. 한국에서는 진짜 마스크 쓰는 게 정말 일상이었는데 뭐 코비드 없을 때도 미세먼지 때문에 마스크 쓰고 그러고 다녔는데 여기 온 이후로는 마스크 쓴 적이 한 번, 두 번 있고 거의 없었던 것 같아요.
Only in quarantine. And since we got out of quarantine, I haven't had to wear a mask. I hated wearing a mask in Korea. I hated being on lockdown all the time. Like, it's so nice to just be free again. So really something that we've appreciated about being back. What's the next thing? Oh, so obviously our kids are bilingual. They speak English and Korean, but before we came to New Zealand, they pretty much only spoke Korean, and they'd speak Korean to me. They could understand what I was saying to them, but they'd just reply in Korean, and obviously they'd speak Korean to their mother. But almost as soon as we came to New Zealand and our daughters met my family and friends and stuff, they just started speaking English like that, just straight away, as if they'd known it all along. It was all in their head, and they just started speaking it. Like, they realized, oh, okay, I'm in New Zealand now, I have to start speaking English. And now, 6 months later, Leah all of a sudden is fluent in English. Yona is as well, our eldest daughter. And they used to only speak to each other in Korean, but now they pretty much only speak English to each other. And they don't like it when I speak to them in Korean. They said, 어색해, 이상해, 아빠 하지 마. And they don't like it when she speaks English to them. So
맞아. 우리 아이들이 진짜 아빠한테는 무조건 이제 영어, 이제 엄마한테는 한국말 이렇게 해야 된다는 거를 확실히 아는 것 같아요. 저한테는 절대 이제 영어로 얘기를 안 하고 아빠한테는 무조건 영어로만 얘기하고.
Yeah, coming to New Zealand, they've really become bilingual. They speak both instead of mixing them up and using whichever language they feel more comfortable. They just use both now, and they only like speaking to me in English.
그리고 신기한 게 연아는 이제 유치원을 다니니까 영어를 이제 거기서 배워서 잘하는구나 생각하지만 리아는 하루 종일 저랑만 있는데도 나는 그리고 계속 한국말만 하는데 리아가 영어를 배우는 게 너무 신기한 거예요.
Yeah, she's 2. She's only 2 years old, and she can speak English and Korean about the same level and at the same time. So if she's speaking to me and then all of a sudden she has to speak to her mum, she can switch to the other one. It's really quite amazing, and it happened almost instantly. Like, as soon as we got here, they just started doing that.
그치?
Whereas before, they were just always speaking Korean. Okay, so another thing that is really quite crazy to us is just how casual New Zealanders are and how casual New Zealand society is. So one thing you'll notice quite a lot here is people just walk around here in bare feet. You see it all the time. People shopping in the supermarket, walking down the street, will go anywhere in bare feet. And I noticed that before I came to Korea, but it was normal. But then after coming back, it's so strange to me now. And also, like, wearing shoes in the house, that's something that I just can't get used to now. Like, I hate it when I see people walking around on carpet and with their shoes on. But yeah, but then the opposite, they'll walk around outside with no shoes on and get their feet all dirty, and like, you'll see whole families of people in bare feet just walking around. And the kids at school love to take their shoes off and run around outside in bare feet. They think it makes them run faster. Yeah, so that's quite something. And the other thing is, things take a lot longer here. So if you order something, it takes a lot longer for it to arrive. Sometimes they'll tell you, like, oh yeah, we'll give you a call in a day or two, we'll have it done in a day or two, and then it's like a few weeks later and they still haven't come over and done it. So I find myself chasing things up a lot, going, you know, what's going on, when can we get this done? Whereas, you know, in Korea, obviously, they just do things for you so quickly and it's so efficient. So.
한국에서는 엄청 그냥 물건 사면은 그냥 일주일 안에는 무조건 다 갖다 주잖아, 웬만해서는. 근데 여기서는 언제 물건을 샀는데 오지를 않아. 일주일이 지나도 2주일이 지나도. 그래서 언제 와요? 전화하면은 그때서야 뭐 조금 더 걸려요 이렇게 얘기하거나.
They're just really casual, like you know, they just take their time and they just sort of do things when they feel like it. Not everybody, but we have noticed that quite a lot. What's next? New Zealand is really multicultural. There's all kinds of people living here, and I've noticed it's gotten even more multicultural since I've returned from 10 years in Korea. There's just all sorts of people from all over, from Asia, from America, from North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, all over the place. India, Pakistan, the Middle East, all types of people. So, for example, at our daughter's preschool, there's only 2 white children, and everyone else are from immigrant families from around Asia and the Middle East. It's really quite amazing, and it's something that I think is quite special. So.
그리고는 또 여기서 아이들한테 유치원에서 마오리어를 가르치는 것도
Yes.
되게 신기했어.
Yeah. Our daughter Yona is learning Maori at preschool, so you know, she's learning a lot of Maori songs and greetings and colours, and she already knows more than me, I think.
그러니까 숫자 세는 거나 색깔 이런 것들 마오리어로 배우고.
But I really like that. I like that they're teaching young New Zealand children the native Maori language. I think it's really good to help revive that culture. The other thing that's really quite fascinating to us is the welfare. So the New Zealand government provides a lot of assistance to people. So right now I'm a student and I'm studying, and that means that I'm not able to work, obviously. But I get something called a student allowance, which is basically free money from the government to help me, you know, pay for bills and buy groceries and things like that while I study. And then we also get a special benefit for having young children. So we get about $750 a week free money from the government, and we don't have to pay it back. They just give that to us every week, and that helps with our expenses. And I really find that quite amazing, that they're just willing to give out this much money, and there's lots and lots and lots of families that receive these benefits. So it's definitely New Zealand's definitely a bit of a welfare state. We do have a lot of welfare for people, but it means that I'm able to study and focus on my study and not work and not worry about money, which is, I mean, it's great. The next thing that we found quite interesting is actually the weather. So what did you want to say about that?
그리고 여기 와서 진짜 처음에 놀랬던 게, 여기 여름이라 그래서 이제 더울 걱정은 했지만 이렇게 밤에나 아침에 이렇게 추울 거라고 생각을 못했어요. 정말 해만 떨어지면은 여기는 갑자기 여름이었다가 가을이나 겨울로 바뀌는 거예요. 그래서 아침에 일어날 때마다 아이들이 추워, 너무 추워, 너무 추워 이렇게 얘기하고, 그래서 반팔을 입고 잘 수가 없고, 항상 긴팔 입고.
We don't have the humidity that Korea has, so once the sun goes down, it cools down a lot, and especially at night, it can get really cold, even in summer. And when we first moved into this house, we didn't have our furniture. We were waiting for everything to arrive from Korea, so we had nothing. So we slept on the floor with just our clothes as blankets, and we were freezing cold. And she was quite, my wife, she was quite shocked. Beautiful and warm during the day, but in the evening it'll get really cold, and we just don't have the kind of humidity that Korea has.
정말 하루에 4계절이 있다는 말이 정말 너무 실감이 됐어. 정말 낮에는 여름이었다가, 그리고 봄, 가을, 겨울 막 완전 하루에도 계절이 왔다 갔다 거려요. 감기 걸리기가 그래서 너무 쉬운 것 같아요, 여기서.
The last thing is it's really quite expensive to eat out here. Food prices are really expensive. While I was living in Korea, I could eat out almost every day, and it was affordable. It's quite cheap, but in New Zealand, restaurants, drinks and things like that, it's really expensive. So you could easily spend $100 at a restaurant. So we've had to reduce the amount of times that we go out and eat as a
거의
family.
외식은 못 하고 있어. 지금 항상 집에서 먹거나 아니면 외식해도 피쉬앤칩스 같은 거 그거는 싸니까.
Even coffee, you know, like in Korea, I could get coffee for like
1,500원?
1,500 won, which is
Coffee
like
하나
$2 New Zealand or something, $2 or $3. But here it's like $6, $7, $8 for a coffee. So I don't really get coffee out much anymore. I usually just make it at home. So definitely not quite as affordable as Korea was, which is a shame. But you know, you just learn to live with it, I guess.
자꾸 한국 돈을 계산하게 되는 거예요. 여기서 가격을 보면은 처음에 왔을 때 이거는 한국 돈으로 하면은 곱하기 800 해가지고 이거 얼마인데? 라고 생각되니까 쉽게 막 못 쓰겠는 거야.
So these are just some of the things that we've found really interesting about living in New Zealand. We're still getting used to life here. It's very different from Korea, but we're loving it. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and we'll see you on the next one.
감사합니다.
안녕. Bye.